Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has claimed victory over the recent conflict with Israel in his first public TV appearance since the ceasefire.
The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency says it has evidence Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged as assessments of U.S. strikes' impact continue.
As EU leaders of the 27 countries gathered in Brussels for a summit to discuss competitiveness, the Middle East and support for Ukraine, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's attention was firmly fixed on economy and trade.
Ich unterstütze die EU-Kommission auch bei allen Anstrengungen, jetzt schnell zu einem Handelsabkommen mit den USA zu kommen. Ich möchte, dass wir Mercosur auf den Weg bringen und weitere Handelsabkommen abschließen.
Ahead of the summit, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán announced that 95% of Hungarians taking part in a non-binding survey oppose Ukraine's joining the EU.
Ukrajna Európai Uniós tagsága ügyében Magyarországot nem lehet megkerülni, mert a végén egyhangú döntés kell. Sőt, a tárgyalások egy-egy klaszter megnyitásához is egyhangú döntés kell. Az nincsen meg. Tehát ez nem fog megtörténni.
The situation in the Middle East is said to be wrangled over by leaders who will call for a ceasefire in Gaza. But some countries are pushing for firmer action on Israel after a review of EU-Israel Association Agreement indicated breaches of human rights in Gaza.
That the people of Europe find it incomprehensible that Europe does not seem to be in a position to pressure on Israel and leverage on Israel to stop this war in Gaza, to stop the continuing slaughter of children and innocent civilians.
Leaders are also set to agree on boosting the bloc's defense industry.
NATO leaders on Wednesday confirmed their commitment to more than double defense spending by 2035, bandying words like crucial, momentous, and quantum leap. Members said that they were united against profound security challenges, singling out the long-term threat posed by Russia and terrorism. The resolutions came even as U.S. President Donald Trump faced questions at the summit about the Ukraine war, something he described as being hard for him to solve.
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars.
By the end of the summit, allies in a joint statement committed to spending 3.5% of GDP on core defense spending to buy military hardware and maintain troops. However, their statements did not include a condemnation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine as it had a year ago. Trump, who had always castigated European allies for not spending enough on their own defense, hailed the decision taken at the summit in The Hague. The U.S. president described it as a big win for Europe and Western civilization. Authorities in the occupied West Bank say 3 Palestinians were shot dead after dozens of Israeli settlers attacked a Palestinian village close to Ramallah. The incident, which happened Wednesday night, was captured on footage and showed Palestinians fleeing as gunfire could be heard, along with a burning car and house. One injured Palestinian described the incident.
فجأنا في المستوطنين هاجمين على الدور وبحركوا في السيارات. حركوا السيارات هنا ضربوا البرندة وحركوا انفرادنا. واحنا الناس الاولاد الصغار ما عندنا اولاد صغار النسوان كلنا شردنا. فجأة ما ظلش حدا غير انا واخوي يعني عرفت الشباب هاي قدامنا. طلعت انا من تحت وظل هنا. اجت جندي من هنا ضخاني من هنا هو شايفه مفيش معاش.
The Israeli military said forces deployed to the scene found settlers and villagers throwing stones at each other. It said soldiers opened fire and that some people were killed and wounded as a result. On Thursday, relatives and families held funerals for the 3 Palestinians killed when Jewish settlers attacked the West Bank town.
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said Iran emerged, quote, victorious from the recent conflict with Israel in his first public appearance since the US brokered ceasefire was declared. He said if the United States had not intervened, the Israeli regime would have been utterly destroyed.
چند تبریک به ملت عرض می‌کنم. یکی تبریک پیروزی بر رژیم جعلی صهیونیست.
Khamenei then went on to say the US achieved no gains from this war and that Iran delivered, quote, a slap in the face to America by targeting one of its military bases in Qatar.
اینی که جمهوری اسلامی دسترسی داشته باشه به مراکز مهم آمریکا در منطقه و علیه آنها هر وقت مقتضی دانست اقدام بکنه، این حادثه کوچکی نیست، حادثه بزرگی است. در آینده هم این حادثه قابل تکرار است در صورتی که تعرضی صورت بگیره. هزینه دشمن، هزینه متعرض قطعاً بالایی خواهد بود.
Meanwhile, on Thursday, the Pentagon's top leaders doubled down on how destructive the US attacks had been on Iran. US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said Trump created the conditions to end the war by, quote, obliterating Tehran's nuclear capabilities.
The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, says U.S. strikes caused severe damage to Iran's nuclear facilities after a leaked report downplayed the extent of the operation. According to CIA Director John Ratcliffe, key Iranian nuclear sites had been destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. But the CIA chief stopped short of declaring that Iran's nuclear program had been outrightly eliminated. The new intelligence assessment comes a day after a leaked early assessment from the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, played down the extent of the destruction and concluded that key components of Iran's nuclear program would be restarted in months. Israel had been carrying out strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities for days leading up to the U.S. military operation, but claimed to need the U.S. 30,000-pound bunker-buster bombs to finish the job.
Flights were cancelled in Brussels airport as a general strike over the federal government's plans to reform and cut pensions took place. Hundreds of departing flights were cancelled and rescheduled for the coming days as many security and airport staff participated in planned protests. Brussels Airport, Belgium's main hub, only received 103 incoming flights on Wednesday, a sharp drop-off from the more than 260 flights originally planned to arrive. The airport now expects a few days of extremely high demand as it recovers from the strike's disruptions.
Door al die annuleringen vandaag hebben de luchtvaartmaatschappijen natuurlijk geprobeerd om zoveel mogelijk passagiers om te boeken naar de komende dagen. Morgen wordt het heel wat drukker dan initieel voorzien, 12.000 extra passagiers. En ook vrijdag hebben we 2.000 passagiers meer dan initieel voorzien. Dus het worden drukke dagen op de luchthaven, ook met de vakantieuitocht. Dus het is vooral belangrijk om op tijd naar de luchthaven te komen.
Further south, Charleroi Airport, a major European hub for low-cost airlines, also cancelled all flights, citing a lack of staff. Tens of thousands participated in protests across the country to oppose the government's plans to raise retirement age and revise pensions. The Belgian government wants to raise retirement age for all civil servants to 66 to align it with the private sector, as it says the rising life expectancy is causing a surge in costs.
Ik heel erg vind dat ze talven van de rit ons pensioen gaan hervormen en dat we minder gaan pensioen hebben. En dat we waarschijnlijk met dat geld gaan tanks kopen en andere zaken om oorlog te voeren.
Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever says reforms are needed to also address the large federal budget deficit which violates EU rules. The country is also committed to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP as per the new NATO obligations adopted on Wednesday in the summit in The Hague.
How X's AI chatbot struggled to fact-check the Israel-Iran conflict. users have been turning to AI chatbots to inform themselves about the 12-day conflict between Israel and Iran, which now seems to have subsided. But a new study shows that Grok, the free-to-use chatbot developed by Elon Musk's XAI, has been misleading users with inconsistent and incorrect claims. This video, claiming to show the destruction from a retaliatory Iranian attack on Tel Aviv airport, is AI-generated. We here at EuroVerify have previously debunked it. But when asked to verify its authenticity, Grok replied that it was likely real footage, not AI-generated. At EuroVerify, we identified several more instances in which Grok falsely describes AI-generated videos as authentic. We also detected instances of Grok linking completely unrelated videos to the conflict. Grok describes this video, which shows festival goers at Hellfest in France, as showing Israelis fleeing the conflict at the Taba border crossing with Egypt. And Grok also alleges that this video of an explosion in Malaysia shows an Iranian missile hitting Tel Aviv on June the 19th. Researchers at the Digital Forensic Research Lab say that Grok grounds its responses on media reports that quickly become outdated due to the fast-paced nature of the conflict. The chatbot also consistently fails to corroborate the authenticity of sources. For example, it's claimed that accounts that are spreading disinformation on X are official, governmental, or military accounts. Experts say users are increasingly reliant on these tools for fact-checking. Yet, these tools are in fact amplifying disinformation and conspiracies.